Is Monster Hunter Wild a disgrace on the PC? The answer is yes. If you want the short answer, yes, it is. It definitely is.
Well, everyone, bad things can happen to good games, and this is one of those days. Monster Hunter Wilds has broken records. Like, seriously, it's become Capcom's fastest-selling game ever. It had Steam concurrence of 1.3 million, which is insane, and an estimated 8 million copies sold in just 3 days. That is absolutely cracked. And right now, it's the 5th highest player count on Steam ever, which is a massive victory that should have investors and players and everybody.
But they will fix it.
Celebrating. But
Eventually.
like that in PC. The PC version has been teetering at, well, the 50s in terms of its review score.
Where is it at right now? I'm curious where it's at right now. What percentage is it at right now? Let's see. Let's find out real quick. 60. Yikes. It is at 60 at the very moment. There's 57,000 negative reviews and only 74,000 positive. Shit, that shit is climbing up, dude. That's crazy. It's a very immersive game, and you can cook your well-done steak on your GPU while you play the hot blast of air from your PC fans. Truly makes you feel like you're in the desert. Keep a bag of sand by your desk and periodically toss handful of it into the air to really complete the experience. That's literally one of the reviews or so on that. And from what I saw on the Chinese side, it's 30% positive. Ooh, yikes.
Thousands of people are calling it unplayable because of devastating performance issues, ones backed up by the likes of Digital Foundry. But when you filter by language, well, you find that actually Chinese-speaking reviews are utterly scathing compared to English-speaking reviews, and it's not even close. So the whole story's odd, but it's not odd in one sense. The reason why is fairly interesting, but most important and looming over all of this is that Capcom appear to have calculated this in advance and decided that all of this chaos was an acceptable cost of doing business.
Wow. Wow. Interesting on what that just said right there.
And if you look at their sales numbers, they are right. It's not like this bombed on Steam. It is peaking on Steam. But what if I told you that Capcom rushed PC because they found themselves 3/4 into the fiscal year, but only just over halfway to their revenue target? Meaning that to hit targets and, well, for the people who run the show to please the people who they ultimately are accountable to, something bad had to happen, something had to give. Monster Hunter World hit PC 6 months after console. Rise hit PC 9 months after Switch. Wilds, though, as we learn here, well, it did not have that luxury. What this could and should have been is the absolute validation of Capcom's big strategy that they've rolled over the last while. Sadly, though, it is that, but only on paper. Now, as a game, this is perfectly capitalizing on, well, player interest in deep, systems-driven co-op experiences. It's doing that perfectly, and they really have pushed a 20-year-old niche franchise off the Nintendo 3DS and into the mainstream on consoles. Critics love it. Sales are astronomical.
Well, technically, a 20-year-old franchise that originally started on the PS2. It started on the Sony console and Sony handheld, and then it moved over to the Nintendo family.
There are a few design choices that are clearly aimed at their newer market, like the kind of walk and talk style PlayStation AAA sequences that some people don't love. But what you find is most of the gameplay complaints evaporate once people hit high rank endgame. That basically shows us that...
No, for me specifically, the cat canteen is gone. The farming system sucks donkey dick in this game. The heavy bowgun is completely neutered to the point that I don't even enjoy playing the heavy bowgun anymore. Let's see. making builds with like decorations, having them separated or so is more of a chore for me personally, but that's just a personal thing. I don't know. For me, it's like it's a pain in the ass to separate because now you have, instead of like having one decoration 3 slot of a one specific passive, you have to get a 2 passive, like a dual skill decoration, and it has to be the perfect one for your build in order for you to maximize your damage, instead of just having one specific one, instead of having like all the decorations be like, oh yeah, you can put like damage on your armor and shit, you know, and then no, now they separated it. Now you have attack decorations and you have defensive decorations, and it's, I don't know, I just personally don't like it.
As Monster Hunter, this is goddamn incredible. But what does not evaporate are the technical disasters, and they truly are disasters. While console versions run relatively smoothly, PC is a technical catastrophe.
It is.
Digital Foundry didn't mince their words. Monster Hunter Wilds, we can't recommend the PC version. Substantial technical problems must be addressed. When I say must, they really do mean it. These are bad. They warn against you playing on anything that's got less than 8 gigs of VRAM. They note the DLSS is ineffective, which is kind of concerning.
What? After all the pop-ups, like the casual users, I used the game defaults detected settings and set DLSS to balance mode at 1440p on RTX 4060. Loading up the game presented more issues with the PlayStation 3 level textures quality in many shots and many textures that looked like they had loaded incorrectly. One character's white coat was rendered multicolor by Mosaic Artifact due to poorly configured texture compressions. After getting characters' controls following the intro cutscene, each turn of the camera was greeted with noticeable stutters. This sort of stutter is often triggered by streaming textures into the VRAM, but the VRAM measures in the settings was showing good performance, making it far from a helpful indicator for a casual user. Turning down the settings by the default high to medium solved the camera stutter issue on the RTX 4060 with 8 gigabytes, but I saw similar texture quality problems on the RTX 4070 with 12 gigabytes too. It's also worth noting that the user's higher end GPUs can download the highest quality textures as separate DLC, but this wasn't available during our testing before release.
Right, it points at some of the underlying problems, and they even express shock at the hardware requirements for even baseline performance. This should not be the way that it is. People are reporting texture pop-ins, disastrous frame rates, crashes constantly, multiplayer failures, and progression blocking bugs. I mean, at least we've got a few hilarious...
Whoa, I have not seen that kind of bug before, but holy shit, that is a... Oh my god, that is a crazy-ass freaking bug.
Screenshots from it, and in a way you could look at all of that and think, there's another Capcom game, Dragon's Dogma 2, that had a lot of problems in PC, and that does raise serious questions about RE Engine's capability to handle open worlds. Now, for Dragon's Dogma 2, the devs eventually found that NPCs were bottlenecking like the CPU side of things majorly.
Yeah, that sounds like the Japanese to me.
Like a root problem in that game. With Wilds, it does seem the issues are more complex. There are theories everywhere, of course. Those range from a botched direct storage implementation to a really simple, funny one of a misspelled config file. Fixing the config file does not make all the problems go away, sadly. Those are theories. Right now, we do not rock solid know exactly what the problems are, but it's clear that there are problems. And what makes this real frustrating is comparison. Look at the relatively smooth launches of, say, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. There are other big, gorgeous-looking games on PC that have had good launches.
I thought Final Fantasy VII Rebirth had issues on launch. I thought I was told that one had issues, specifically when that one launched or so. I don't know.
And Capcom's only response has just been generic advice like, check your system's requirements and update your drivers, which is not reassuring to people.
This is really stupid for them to actually say this and be like, yeah, just, it's your guys' problem, and it's not our problem. The game is fine. Your computer, you just gotta make sure your shit is updated and shit. That does not help out whatsoever.
Who have spent $70 on a game that I would go as far as saying is unplayable. Some of that's the quality of the software, some of that is my own standards, but fuck it, I wouldn't play that. Now, it's worth mentioning the other sort of modern Capcom special here. There are some stupid microtransactions. I mean, hey, like, at least the Capcom formula is also banger video games, right? So thumbs up for that. But it's got the usual. There's a torrent of day one microtransaction cosmetic things. There's a cosmetic bundle that contains all of those, plus the promise of future ones. And worst of all, there's a character and Palico edit voucher thing going on. They're sold in packs of 3. It's $6 each after your first one, which doesn't really feel good. And the edit vouchers deserve special attention here. I mean, it's weird, they're edit vouchers that just cost nearly 10% of the base game, but as noted by VGC, they were not available during the review period, and that conveniently prevented critics from factoring those into their review scores.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I know a friend that had a progression bug of which he could not craft armor because the game, for some reason, thought he was in the tutorial. Despite him progressing the story and rank, they have to fix that bug now. Holy shit, dude. That would suck ass, dude. Trying to fight monsters or so. It feels like you probably wouldn't even stand a chance or so on the higher difficulty monsters.
Even though I like Capcom, I really like what they're doing with their games, but that is scummy. So by now you understand, right, that there are problems here, but they're problems that are in an otherwise stellar game. We're going to have to talk about the money and why this has happened, but first, we've got the curious case of the reviews being truly strange. Looking deeper into the Steam reviews reveals something fascinating that I didn't expect. On Friday morning after launch, English language reviews were actually 64% positive. If you just looked at the Steam page, you wouldn't have thought that. Those climbed to 67% by Monday, which is not stellar. You need 70% plus for a positive rating, but hey, it is far better than the overall score the game had at that time. And across most regions, the reviews fluctuated between 65% and 80% positivity by Monday.
You don't think they did what I think they did.
So why is the average so low? China. Yeah, it's China. Chinese language reviews started at a brutal 11% positivity. They only reached 24% positivity by Monday. And this actually matters a lot because, in case you haven't noticed, China's rather large, and Chinese reviews make up roughly 40% of total reviews for this game in Steam.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, China.
The Chinese gaming market is predominantly PC focused because they didn't really have consoles for a long time, and they're just real unforgiving of bad PC performance.
Jeez.
They really do seem to be. Now, you could perhaps say that Western players who are more emotionally attached to this brand are just more forgiving, right? So
no, for me, I'm just like, yeah, no, this is terrible. This is completely like bad.
People in the West will have played this on their 3DS because, again, Monster Hunter was more of a console thing, and console penetration into China is basically just recent. China really is ingrained on mobile phones and PC. So with China, it basically seems you've got an absolutely humongous gaming audience, a humongous audience in Steam, right? They are very, very PC focused. They don't have a lot of brand affinity with Monster Hunter. They probably are aware of just how like massively hyped up it is because of course they can't access the other Monster Hunter games in Steam, which means that they play this at launch and basically go, what the hell is happening? And they leave a negative review. So a fairly interesting quirk, I suppose, of how games have developed across different regions, but in no way is this a surprise. And so with this first mystery, a rather pedestrian one, solved, I think we've got to talk about the second mystery, because you're probably looking at all of this, looking at the funny screenshots and thinking, there's no way that Capcom didn't know this would happen. I mean, there are problems on basically every PC. It's not a rare issue. So why did Capcom not delay this game to fix it? Because they've had other delayed releases for months.
What is it? First quarter revenue? I think that's probably it, which happens in like at the end of March, right? Yeah, it happens at the end of March.
Monster Hunter games on PC. Well, the answer is money. Last quarter, Capcom saw a 33% drop in income and a 16% drop in net sales year on year because they had a lack of major releases. Now here's the spicy bit. Their forecast projects 165 billion yen in net sales this year. That's of course this financial year. But as of December 31st, they'd only made 88.5 billion. Now, you don't really need to be a
Yeah.
mathematician to know that one of those numbers is a lot smaller than the other number. They are 3 quarters into the year, but only halfway to their revenue target. Many people would say this is a problem. Q4, the quarter that we're in now, has got to generate almost as much as the previous 3 quarters combined. And outside of live service stuff, Wilds is their only big release. It's their only option. So, unlike Monster Hunter World, which released on PC 6 months after consoles, Capcom basically could not afford to stagger the release, because even with the popularity
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's usually what does it sometimes.
of Wilds on consoles, they know PC is big, PC only seems to be getting bigger, and a PC release was likely needed to guarantee their sales target, because if they missed sales targets, even though their big marquee game Monster Hunter sold well on consoles, that would probably spook the market. So, it came out when it came out, with a whole month worth of sales to let them sail past 165 billion yen. That is likely a major part of why Wilds did not get the PC time that it, as a game, deserves, and that us as customers deserve. The other part of the puzzle is that to Capcom, they don't need to fix if they can mitigate. So, PS5 Pro, PS5, Series X, Series S. That is 4 hardware targets. PC is obviously exponentially more complex. I mean, even just the problems that game devs have had with, Intel CPUs and drivers. Hasn't that been fun? Getting it right then in PC would have taken time that they did not have. That meant that Capcom only had one option, a strategy of mitigation. Well, there's the option of a delay, but as I've just covered, that's obviously not what was going to happen. So what they did is they ran 2 full PC betas to identify the worst problems.
Yeah, but the problem is with the beta or so, right? With the 2 betas, they used the same beta from the first beta. So they never gave us an updated version of the beta in order for them to find out the actual issues. They gave us the same fucking beta from the first one, but then they said it'd be like, yeah, here you go, you know? And also, a lot of people said specifically about the benchmark thing or so. Don't believe this. This doesn't do shit. So, yeah.
Benchmark tool to sort of warn off players on weaker machines, and they just relied on their fan base's willingness to look past issues. And certainly if you compare the English and Chinese language reviews, and you sort of think, well, the English speakers are probably going to be the more core Monster Hunter people. Yeah, I suppose it kind of did work.
I am a hard, like, I enjoy Monster Hunter. I'd say I'm a pretty big fan, but I am unaccepted. I give this shit pretty unacceptable, to be honest.
I mean, from where I'm sitting, it did work. They've got a lot of sales, and it has worked before. I mean, Dragon's Dogma 2 sold 3 million units. It was considered a real big success for Capcom. More tellingly, though, Monster Hunter World sold 5 million copies just on the last-gen consoles. It then rose to 10 million after its delayed PC release. And it's not like its release was great. It launched to sub 50% user reviews as well. Which kind of means if you're Capcom, you look at all of this and you think, bad release, Steam reviews, not a problem for us. We've got Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is more powerful than a spooky red bit of lettering on Steam. And thus far, Wilds is performing better than World in
We just finished Wilds
and sales. And that means
we're on the subject of Wilds.
Release date at the expense of further PC optimization, I would say basic PC optimization, like product speaking, well, that's actually worked. And as we've seen with, say, Elden Ring, Stalker, now Monster Hunter, audiences are willing to forgive performance issues for franchises they're emotionally attached to.
Nope, not me. I don't care if it's the godsend of Jesus or so, or whatever, for a franchise that I love or so. Same thing with Kingdom Hearts, and the same thing with this. I will criticize the living shit out of it, to be honest, if they don't do things correctly. So I don't care. I love Monster Hunter, but Monster Hunter will get the same criticism as I do with Call of Duty. So I'm just letting you know, this PC release is trash, dude. This PC release is fucking garbage, man.
At least as much as this one, and as long as there's an expectation that improvement is possible, and I suppose with World, there is evidence of that. And all this brings me to a DJ Khaled album. Suffering from success, that's what's happening today.
Yeah, that's the worst part about it. Most people do, but for me, as someone who's very more, more more analytical or so, and looking at things, you know, at a different perspective point of view. Instead of like thinking with my heart, I think with my brain or so, right? I'm sorry, but like, it's no.
To PC. PC is becoming more important, but it almost seems that ports are getting worse these days, which kind of seems insane, but I can see why. If PC is more important to the bottom line, then delaying in PC will hurt more. And unlike consoles, PC, well, it is genuinely a harder problem in terms of optimization and launches than consoles are, right? That's a genuine challenge. And if there's one thing that our industry historically and currently sucks at, it's giving engineers the time they need to actually do shit right.
Yeah.
So you would think the importance of PC would increase the value of the PC port being good. In a way it does, but in reality, we're seeing
So far, I've put... How many hours have I put in this game? I have put 46 hours into this game. I bought the Ultimate Edition for this game because I was expected a full complete package with it being well optimized on computer. I did not get my money's worth out of this game whatsoever. Not at all.
companies simply not think that the damage of a rough launch is worth the delay if their franchise is strong. And at the end of the day, it's all down to the numbers, it's all down to incentives.
And I am also, this is the last time from Monster Hunter, specifically from Monster Hunter, this will be the last time I pre-order a Monster Hunter game. Yeah. This is literally the last Monster Hunter game that I'm going to pre-order. So that's it. You know, I'm not pre-ordering the next Monster Hunter game.
But not really in the way you'd first think, so let me explain. A smaller publisher or an indie dev might rush out a game because they're incentivized by actually getting some money so they don't literally go bust. But a giant publicly traded AAA could delay. They can tank that hit, but so often they don't, and game releases feel rushed. And that's because the C-suite decision makers are working on their own incentives to keep investors happy. That's actually what you're doing if you're in the C-suite.
Yeah.
I mean, even the performance compensation of C-suite people, well, that can often be tied to stock price.
Because look, he's not talking about like the actual issues with the game itself, right? The minute details, right? The farming system in this game is terrible. You can't use your points to increase the star rarity, the rarity or so. You know how like there's some items or so that's only like 1 star rarity and stuff like that, right? You can't increase it to get more odds or so for you to be able to get that, right? To get the item more, right? The cat canteen is also, you know, it's not there anymore. The problem is with the NPCs inviting you for dinner, right? It's like every so often it'll happen, but it won't happen consistently for you to get that actual big bonus, you know? So a lot of people are not a fan of some of the changes for the classes. Even like the older players are kind of a bit 50-50. All of the new players like it, which is fine, it's fantastic, but a lot of the old players are pretty much 50-50 with it. The story needs to stop happening in this goddamn fucking franchise, okay? Stop making a story. We just care about fighting cool, funny, disgusting monsters. That is it. That's all we mostly care about. We don't care about a fucking story about Nata fucking bitching and complaining, fucking giving fucking Arkveld a moment to live until like the very end of the story. He's like, oh, please kill it now. It's just like, no. Okay? No one cares about Nata, okay? That little shitlord can stay in this game and never come back. Also, never bring back talking palicos ever again, Capcom. Ever. That is the worst decision I've ever had to hear in my entire life for talking palicos, okay? I don't know who thought up of that in that fucking board meeting of yours, but you should probably fire his ass, okay? All right? I'm honestly like, that is the worst decision making I've ever saw in my entire life. I get it, they're trying to sell plushies and shit, but this is probably not the right way to do it, to be honest. That's pretty much frankly it. So, and let's see, what else do we have problems with this game? Oh. The NPC meals are so soft locked if they ask you to come during a certain weather cycle, like Maki in the oil place during plenty, and then they say never mind once it turns to the next weather cycle. Jesus Christ. But people like talking palicos for real. Nobody does. Nobody likes that shit. You're actually like, no. Never even tried it. Turn it off immediately before the game started. Yeah. Honestly, it's crazy in my personal. Plus, also bring back the old decorations how they used to be. Okay, all right. Make builds fun again. You know. We're here to circumcise Kezu and eat some cat-made food. God damn it! There's no time for yapping children. That's very true. That's very true. What sucks is that I think the Monster Hunter team cares. I think Capcom doesn't. I feel like it's the suits above. The suits that kind of like basically own the shareholders of Capcom, so
That should align.
yeah, the ammo type, like the ammo type specifically, whatever they did, they gutted heavy bowguns. They completely neutered the shit out of heavy bowguns. I'm not joking. They wish that their pets can talk like palicos. Well, they're retarded. I'm sorry.
Their interests with the company and the value it produces, but so often it doesn't. It aligns their value with the short term, not long-term value. And that's not because good games are bad business. It's because the market itself is a game with its own rules.
Also, another thing too, this is what Capcom needs to do as well. In the character creation screen, instead of having like multiple different female voices and multiple different male voices, we only have 3 female and 3 male, and then we have a fucking pitch slider. Bro, Capcom, I can literally hear the roboticness of the pitching going up or so. When you pitch the voice higher, you can literally hear it. Also, thank you for the gifted as well. Very much appreciated, Kobe. But yeah, you can literally hear with my headphones, because I have studio headphones and stuff like that, right? I can hear like the really, really bad robotic, like with the pitch slider or so for the character. It sounds so cheap and awful. Like, it's really cheap and awful. Like, it's just so bad.
Its own norms, its own incentives. And when the bigwigs are playing that game, the upshot is damage to our games. And that has just happened to Monster Hunter. Time and time again, we see this.
Yeah. The AI pitch is so prominent on pitch voice. Oh, is it? Is it an AI pitch thing? Yeah. I heard it in some of the cutscenes specifically, and I was like, I immediately changed that shit back when I got the chance to do it. And I was like, goddamn, dude.
And in the case of Riot Games, well, they're 100% owned by Tencent. Tencent has still got to play to the market, and it's pretty damn clear that things are not all great at Riot. They've literally said that, well, League of Legends is unsustainable. And while they did walk back changes...
Also, on top of that too as well, for those who, like, because I know there's some people who are, like, starting to play or barely starting to play with Monster Hunter, right? There is no end game, like, the end of the story, right? When you complete the tutorial story, there's no armor for him, and there's no weapon for him. So, let that sink in. When Xeno'jiva came out in base Monster Hunter World, there was, what, 3 weapon types and 2 armor sets. Crazy, huh? Kind of crazy, huh? That in this specific Monster Hunter, there isn't any, but in the past one, there was. So, Hey, you know what? It is what it is, right? They wanted to rush it because of money, and there you go. A lot of people love it, which is whatever to me personally. But as someone who has been playing the franchise for such a long time, this is such a disgrace, and I will never pre-order another Monster Hunter game ever again. I'd rather wait for reviews on it, and that's pretty much it. Because I don't think I'm gonna get my money's worths out of it. And it's gonna be a while until this game gets patched where it needs to be on basically on day one that it should have been. And at that point, I'm probably already moved on and probably just waiting for the DLC at that point, you know? So, but yeah, that's it. I've only spent 40 hours in this game. I've pretty much finished, you know, the story, high rank. We grinded up to level 50. We experimented on the Ardian stuff. And that's basically it. The Gamba system is literally the Ardian thing, and that's literally your end game, is basically to get the perfect build for the Ardian set and decorations. But the worst part about it, about the decorations themselves, you have to get like like a set of 2 skills on one decoration, and it has to be a perfect decoration. So let's say, for example, you have sharpness on one of the decos, and you needed that sharpness skill. But unfortunately, the second skill is like, let's say, dragon element, but you need thunder element, right? Well, unfortunately, you gotta go farm it until you get that decoration to get that specific sharpness and thunder element. You can still use it, but it's not very optimal. So you have to get 2 skills instead of 1. When it used to be 1, now you have to get 2. Because you're only limited on the weapon 3 slots for decorations. 3. While the armor set gets more. The armor set has a shit ton of decos that you can put on. But the weapon only has 3. So, yeah. Personally, I'm not really a huge fan of what they did with the decorations. How they split them up and everything. And it just kind of like... And also, make all the classes fun again, you know? Not a fan of what they did with the classes in general. So, overall, like, throughout the board, just make all of them fun. I don't know what they're doing, but it is what it is. Personally, I'd rather have all the classes to be fun. And the best part, half of them don't even work. That's true! Half of the skills don't even work in this game. Also, they took away guild cards. You're not allowed to have guild cards anymore, so let's not forget about that too. Big sad, I love the hunting horn more than World, and Rise hunting horn is non-existent, so I'm torn. So maybe I just go back to gooning on Nikki and ruining my life with Factorio. Or you could just come hang out with me. But yeah, anyways, I will never forgive them. That's the end of the video. You can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff. This is what I think about Monster Hunter Wilds. I think this game is mid to slightly below mid. As a, like, if we're comparing this Monster Hunter to all of the other Monster Hunter games that came out before the DLC, we're talking about the base part. Compared to World or so, I think I'd rather go play World and story campaign instead of doing the campaign for this game ever again. I did Monster Hunter World Story 2 times. One on the PS4 and one on the PC. This one, this specific Monster Hunter Wilds, I never want to play the story for this game ever again. So, yeah. Y'all take care, Kobe. Be safe. Be safe. Not gonna happen in the future. Monhunt's prime has passed. Say goodbye. Yup. But yeah. Anyways. 4 out of 10, not enough yapping children and no clutch claw. Yeah, no clutch claw, man. It's just a sad day for no clutch claw. Anyways, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff. You guys can let me know down in the comments what you guys think about Monster Hunter Wilds, and peace.